Somewhere inside the files of Cyberpunk 2077, there's evidence of a building that shouldn't exist anymore. It appears in old textures, old cube maps, old blockout files, and fragments of an earlier night city that CD Projekt Red eventually replaced. And the weirdest part is that this building may still be in the game. So today I'm going to answer some questions about this mysterious artifact of Cyberpunk's development. Where was the Steinbeck Building? Before Cyberpunk 2077 became the night city we know now, CD Projekt Red had another night city, a rougher one, a stranger one, a city that appears in the files under names like Night City 01. If you watch a lot of Cyberpunk essays, you might be familiar with this documentary by Sir MZK, who explored the cap claims the creators once had to take the player to the moon. That map was designated Map Number 2. Meanwhile, the towering neon nightmare we all know and occasionally get hit by cars in is under the asset label Night City 03, sort about Map Number 1. Night City 01 was the developer's test map. There's videos of it floating around from the game's early development. Night City 01 was a prodigious playground of platforming, power steering, and perforating punks and perpetrators. Then sometime around 2017, the team did some pivoting on design and gameplay, the moon map was dropped, and the gameplay was ported to Night City 03. But Night City 01 didn't completely vanish. Oh no. It left fossils, artifacts waiting to be dug up. Night City 01 was designed around a hub called the Steinbeck Building. According to the cutting room floor, it was the location of Thee's apartment and possibly the location of several early game quests. Ultimately, it was a precursor to what eventually became Thee's apartment in Megabuilding 10. So where was the Steinbeck Building? And can we still find it today? In my last video, you might recall I talked a lot about reflection probes and cube maps, and I said, and I quote, "Why do Cyberpunk and Spider-Man have the same minimap?" I said, and I quote, "Cube map is a 2D texture made to be viewed in 3D, like using 6 images arranged in a cube shape, and I promise this will be important later." Well, guess what? It's later. When Night City 01 was being developed, they of course baked reflection probes. Night City wouldn't be the same if oil it's shiny after all. And the cube maps from those reflection probes are still in CDPR's official modding tool, WolvenKit. So let's take a look. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, it's not terribly easy to look around areas like this, so because I'm a normal, healthy bean tin and this definitely isn't a hyperfixation, I extracted several of these cube maps, built a tool in Unity to project them into 3D, and then a camera controller to look at them. You can't walk down the street, open doors, or interact with anything, it's just a picture, but you can stand in the middle of the image and look around, and suddenly you're looking at streets that do not exist anymore. This bar got upgraded at some point. Here's the old foods factory. Here's some laboratory covered in blood. Here's a street underneath a towering Megabuilding, and hey, that's the Steinbeck Building. In fact, there's several surviving cube maps from the Steinbeck Building. You can find them in WolvenKit just by searching for the name Steinbeck. We've got exterior shots, hallways, elevators, doors, and Thee's apartment. Here's an early version of Thee's stash. B's bed looks a lot like the one Jackie has in the flashback montage, eh? Here's a Netrunner chair in the middle of the living room, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to the All Foods factory. This location's in the game. At first I thought it might be a completely different design altogether, but then I saw this cable on the floor. And from there I was able to get my bearings in the beta version. This fuel tank is no longer exploded, and this walkway is not destroyed anymore. What's that about? But the basic structure and even details like this wooden pallet have persisted into the final version of the area. Possibly due to how long this level's been around throughout development, All Foods has a ton of weird details and extra geometry that hints at how this area might have originally played out. Like Brick hanging out behind this door, and for some reason he crouches when you look away from him. Or this door in the loading bay that there's no reasonable way to access, and which has an unused empty room behind it. Also went looking for this console from the cube maps. The room it's in appears to go out into a foyer and has some rolling doors on the side. A computer much like this one is sitting in the Maelstrom common room, and nearby, well, this looks close, sure, but the best test would be to see if these doors are programmed to open, something we can test with the Unlock Night City mod. Success! The actual desk asset, by the way, is way in the back in a room that Brick apparently used for his office. This door opens into the receiving warehouse, by the way, and the other side is a keypad that you can use, but it doesn't show a screen. One more bonus tidbit, here's where all those sleeves of organic poaching appear behind the wall, and here's them disappearing, completing the loop and giving the illusion of an endless production line. As a note, this number is featured prominently on the wall here in the cube map, and the same number ended up in the final version of the game. According to the finest crackpot theorists I could find online, this number is a basic A1 cipher that reads the word clue, with over 1,500 of such markings all over the game. But that's a side quest for another day, so moving on. Back to the cube maps. This one with the looming Megabuilding shows a massive number 4 on the side, so let's go. Let's go. Alright, I'll take it. Welcome to Megabuilding 4, and I suppose it looks close, but nothing in this area matches up. Even the view of the city across from here doesn't look right, which made me think maybe somewhere along the way the Megabuildings got renumbered, which is incredibly rude of the evidence to be so misleading, so I guess we'll have to check them all, one by one. Welcome to Megabuilding 12. Well, at least this one looks a bit more correct. The shape, the placement, the surrounding skyline. It wasn't a perfect match, but it's enough to make Watson the prime suspect for the Steinbeck Building's location. At this point, you might be wondering the same thing I was. Why was it called the Steinbeck Building anyway? Steinbeck isn't the name of a character or location in Night City at all. Cyberpunk has plenty of fake corporate names, fake brands, fake districts, fake products designed to give you lever value at discount prices. But Steinbeck's something incredibly specific. John Steinbeck, Pulitzer Prize-winning author of The Grapes of Wrath, Of Mice and Men, and other incredible American fiction, drew a lot of inspiration from his native land of Central California, in particular the Salinas Valley. Night City, at least according to the tabletop game and in-game references, is canonically located near Morro Bay in Central California. What? Excuse me, I'm making a video, thank you very much. The spaceport, for example, is nestled on Morro Rock, but outside of that one place, not a lot about Morro Bay looks anything like Night City. But you know it does. As it turns out, Salinas Valley, northwest of Morro Bay, borders the Monterey Bay area, including Monterey and Santa Cruz, where cyberpunk trader Mug Pondsmith grew up. And that's when the whole map started lighting up. Watson looks a lot like Watsonville. Norfolk sounds suspiciously like Royal Oaks. Vista Del Rey lines up with Del Rey Oaks. Pacifica might be named after Pacific Grove. And there's Salinas, where Santo Domingo should be. And speaking of Salinas, what's this? Why, it's the National Steinbeck Center. But knowing where the name came from did not tell me where the building was. To figure that out, we'd have to work backwards and ask, if CD Projekt Red rebuilt Night City, what survived? First, as I mentioned, all foods. It's changed, it's not perfectly preserved, but it's recognizable. In other words, we know just from this still being here that Night City 01 wasn't simply thrown into a digital wood chipper. This bar seemed a little familiar and I wandered around until I stumbled across this brainwash in Vista Del Rey. This weird little area has always felt suspicious to me. It's compact, detailed, strangely self-contained, and very easy to imagine as a tutorial space. You have alleys, storefronts, vertical routes, little loops. I always wondered if this was some earlier starting area, though I didn't find anything conclusive. All this, but still no Steinbeck. I found buildings that looked sort of right, same broad shape, same Night City architectural vocabulary, that every time I compared them to what I had, something was wrong. Proportions, or windows, or street placement. Close enough to be annoying, but not close enough to close the case. In particular, I was looking for certain unique pieces of geometry, like this unique Steinbeck door. Notable for its distinct blue and bronze appearance, it doesn't appear anywhere else in the game. Places like Toten Tent gave me hope because of its sprawling architecture and extra deck space behind its rooms, but I couldn't find anything that really matched up. But I did find something. Looking at the individual Steinbeck meshes, we can see that the architecture has a bit of Art Deco feel to it. These stairs and the skylight sure seem familiar. A few months back, a YouTuber named Parker Enterprise was able to open some of the Steinbeck meshes and prefabs and get a look at what the interior would have looked like if the pieces were put together. And while he only looked at it for a painfully short time, it gives us a good look at the layout. Wait a sec. I know exactly where this is. So let's trek back to Watson and go to Kabuki to visit the notorious No-Tell Motel, which for those who haven't played Cyberpunk before is where Lee and Jackie meet up with Dexter Deshawn after their very successful heist.
WNS, N54. Everyone is celebrating that the heist went well, V. You're the greatest.
And the Jackster, he out in the car?
Yeah, he's there.
And we're going to have a pizza party.
After which they all live happily ever after. There's that familiar Art Deco. Those stairs. And the skylight. Yet, by all accounts, it looks like the interior of the Steinbeck Building was repurposed to be the visually impressive and unique interior of the No-Tell Motel. Were the level designers just using old assets to save time? Or were they paying homage to an important building in the game's development history? It's hard to say. What's not here is V's apartment. From the tube maps of V's Steinbeck flat, it appears to be oriented with a long layout. There's sleeping cupboard, a bookshelf with candles, a sitting room. V's front door is in a hallway with a gated elevator just off to the right. And V's Megabuilding H10 apartment has a lot of these same features, to be honest, just rearranged. But I have a theory that the original location wasn't just discarded. If you buy V's Japantown flat and take the stairs up, things start to look a bit familiar. Here's V's front door, next to a gated elevator. Inside the apartment's got a long layout with a sleeping cubby, bookshelf with candles, sitting area. In what's not a perfect match, it definitely seemed close, though the Netrunner chair's nowhere to be found. But what about the Steinbeck Building? The biggest clue on that came once again from WolvenKit, this old map of Night City during early development. A lot of stuff on this map matches the final layout of the city. Though North Oak is significantly bigger, there seems to be 2 airports, and interestingly, Arasaka Waterfront is drawn as a perfectly playable place. In the final game, Arasaka Waterfront's hidden behind blocked gates. If you clip past them, you find streets and intersections and scraps of layout that feel like they were started and then abandoned. A lot of people, myself included, have described this place as unfinished. But I don't think that's quite right anymore. See, looking at the cube maps in the major landmarks, I had gotten a general area, but things still weren't matching up. Now, I don't want to sound like I obsessed or anything, but this cube map shows an unfinished ground, and you can see through the map that they had laid out as a template. Wait a second, that building there, that's right here. But these cube maps also let you see through the ground, and none of these areas match up. But then I ran across another old map of Night City, one floating around online, and discovered it could be seen to have cut a whole block from the game at some point. But with this new map, I could match up these areas, and from that, I was able to pinpoint the locations of all the reflection roads and do some basic perspective nav and determine that this building right here on the map is the Steinbeck Building. From there, I was able to fully overlay the old map with the current map, travel down a thoroughway labeled Shibuya Avenue, which is apparently now called Drake Avenue, head to this intersection in order to find that yes, the place I'm looking for is behind the gates guarding Arasaka Waterfront, but this is NoClip Nomad, so we're going to frickin' NoClip through, and I can say with as much certainty as I can that the Steinbeck Building was once right here. It's kind of strange standing here in game. There's nothing here. Any evidence of this important building has been completely erased. But standing on this sidewalk gives me that same feeling you might get seeing before and after pictures taken decades apart. That feeling that something was once here and now it's gone. So that answers the first question. Where was the Steinbeck Building? It was here. The old player's home had an address, a place in the city, and then the city changed around it. For a while, I thought that was the end of the story. The Steinbeck Building had been removed. Mystery solved. Sad bean noises. And then I found it. It wasn't in Watson. It wasn't in Vista Del Rey. It wasn't even in the map proper. Outside and under the map, in a set piece used for one of Phantom Liberty's brain dance sequences. Specifically, Songbird's apartment. There's a hallway here and a door in the Songbird's flat. The layout looks very familiar. There's in that runner chair. But then I clipped outside. Outside the apartment is not Night City. It's a constructed street set, a little slice of New York-style urban memory assembled for Songbird's braindance. Facades, windows, set dressing, just enough geometry to sell the illusion from the intended camera angles. And across the street... After all that searching, the Steinbeck Building was not standing where it used to stand. It had been moved, reused, repurposed and preserved as someone else's memory. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game about memory, identity, reconstruction, and people being overwritten by systems much larger than themselves. So of course the original Night City's still here, scattered throughout the final gamers, reflections and leftovers and reused sets, blocked off streets and broken elevators, old buildings pretending to be something new. Like Johnny Silverhand, Night City 1 didn't die. Not really anyway. It lived on. And you can still find the bits left behind, buried in unexpected places, if you know where to look for it. On Robert Lagoon, thanks for watching.